Why won't you do your job, Senator?
Yeah.
Stand up to Trump.
Where is this fraud?
You guys are going to have a heart attack if you don't calm down. I'm sorry. Your hysteria is just really over the top.
For the few remaining Republican members of Congress who actually do choose to hold town halls like they're supposed to, I've got to say, they're not going too well, which is why a lot of them just choose to not do town halls anymore. But ignoring your constituents, that's one thing. Attacking people in your district for wanting you to do what you're supposed to do, that's something entirely different, and some Republicans are actually doing that. For example, Nancy Mace actually had the audacity to attack her own constituents because they requested a town hall. She referred to them on Twitter as, quote, deranged town hall fakers to imply that they didn't actually live in her district, yet when people in her district invited her to a town hall and set up a podium for her, she never showed up. And she claims that she doesn't want to do in-person town halls because it's just not safe for her. But if it's not safe, why don't you do a teletown hall? Now, she would respond by saying, well, I have done phone call town halls, but the problem, Nancy, is that you did a spontaneous 37-minute long call during dinner time so less people would show up, and you took 5 questions and you seemingly muted people so that way they couldn't respond with follow-up questions. So in a number of ways, these Republicans who are avoiding their constituents are making it clear that they are scared of their constituents. Not because they don't feel safe, that's bullshit, but because they can't defend what Trump is doing to our government. He is destroying this country, and they know people are rightfully pissed off about it. But to the credit of some GOP lawmakers, they are showing up. But don't be fooled into thinking that they deserve credit for somehow respecting the democratic process, because this is what happened to people at Marjorie Taylor Greene's town hall who dared to heckle her or challenge her at all.
Are you really doing this? Stop. Are you really doing it? Stop. Are you really doing it? Really?
Thank you. Thank you.
Do it. Get fuck off. Get stopped. Walk outside. Go. Put your hands on you. Hands up. Hands behind your back. Don't move. Stop.
This is a peaceful town hall. Now, this is a peaceful town hall, ladies and gentlemen. This should not have to happen.
Hey, Marjorie, if the town hall was supposed to be peaceful, I don't think that the cops got the memo. And the fact that her constituents were applauding cops tasing someone at a peaceful town hall demonstrates that Americans, they're also part of the problem. They deserve the corrupt government that they voted for, even though the rest of us don't, because we didn't vote for this catastrophe. But as often as I'm disgusted by people at town halls, I'm also impressed by them, because despite the threat to their safety for challenging power, a lot of people still choose to make their voices heard. Outside of that event, by the way, the street was lined with probably more than 100 people protesting Marjorie Taylor Greene with anti-Musk signs and anti-fascism signs. And on the inside, multiple people stood up and made a stink. One guy in particular had a banner that said "Jail Inside Traders" in response to allegations that Marjorie Taylor Greene once again engaged in insider trading after making bank during Donald Trump's tariff fiasco. And during Marjorie Taylor Greene's screed about immigrants, one woman stood up and called out the double standard and asked why they're not targeting the violent racist groups as vociferously as they're targeting immigrants. And she also proceeded to call Marjorie Taylor Greene a butch body bigot, which is a little bit of a bonus.
FBI, ATF, Border Patrol, ICE, and many local law enforcement, all the way from city, county, and states, all across the country are working together to track down illegal alien criminals, cartels, and terrorists that are not just living at the border. Ladies and gentlemen, they're all inside the interior of the United States.
How about the KKK?
All inside the interior of the United States. You can head out. The protest is outside. Thank you very much. Protest is outside.
You
Protest is outside. Bye. Have fun out there. City of Ackworth is doing a great job. They have an area for protests outside. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Now, at the end of the event, Marjorie Taylor Greene was asked about how much of a shit show it was, since people were getting kicked out and tased, and she was getting heckled, and she was also protested. And her response was predictably idiotic.
Just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said before, this isn't a political rally or a protest. I held a town hall tonight. You know who was out of line? The protesters. There was a place designated outside for the protesters because we support their First Amendment right. So you know who was out of line? The protesters. The police did a great job. I'm very thankful.
I'm sorry, but you don't get to claim that you support the First Amendment when you are literally throwing people out of your event because they disagree with you, you troglodyte. And what politicians like her don't understand is that you won't have repeated disruptions if you give people the opportunity to actually challenge you, if you allow them to vent and vocalize their dissatisfaction with you and the government. And if you let them blow off steam, odds are they're probably not going to feel as inclined to bring banners or try to disrupt the event. People probably won't do that if they feel listened to. That's what these town halls are about. You are supposed to listen to the people who pay your check, who got you elected. And if you don't like it, if you don't want to hear them scream at you, that's too fucking bad. Find another job. But as much as I despise Chuck Grassley, he actually did have more of an open forum for his constituents, which is what you're supposed to do. That's how these things usually go. And they were able to express how angry they were with him and Donald Trump, and they didn't hold back, which was awesome to see.
You gonna bring that guy back from El Salvador? Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Well, because that's not power of Congress.
The Supreme Court said to bring him back.
Judges are. And the president isn't upholding the Constitution. He's defined the Constitution. You're on the Judiciary Committee.
Trump don't care.
If I get an order to pay a ticket for $1,200 and I just say no, does that stand up? Because he's got an order from the Supreme Court and he's just said no.
Yeah. He just said screw it.
I'll be able to answer your question.
You ignored my letter.
Guatemala or El Salvador is an independent country. The president
Speak up, please. We can't hear you.
The president of that country is not subject to our U.S. Supreme Court.
The Trump wanted to bring him back. I'm pissed.
We're paying him to keep him down there. We don't have to pay him.
The next subject here.
Excuse me, Senator. Senator, excuse me, on that same subject.
Hey,
Excuse me, Senator Grassley, on that same subject. The Constitution, the framers of the Constitution, said that every person, not citizen, every person within the jurisdiction of the United States has due process. That is violated by the administration, and we would like to know what you, as the people, the Congress, who are supposed to rein in this dictator, what are you going to do about it? These people have been sentenced to life imprisonment in a foreign country with no due process. Our government cannot do anything.
Trump isn't a king.
Why won't you do your job, Senator?
Yeah. Get it swine.
Obey the Supreme Court. Trump's not obeying the Supreme Court. He just ignores them.
Yeah, screw it.
Now, as you saw, it was obvious that Chuck Grassley couldn't defend Trump's actions because his actions are indefensible. But worse, Grassley isn't doing anything to rein in Trump's tyranny. He's standing by and watching the country burn to the ground, and that's why his constituents are so pissed off. You know, compare Chuck Grassley to Senator Chris Van Hollen, who literally traveled to El Salvador to talk to the vice president about the illegal detainment of Abrigo Garcia. There's no reason why Chuck Grassley couldn't do something like that. There's no reason why Chuck Grassley couldn't use his proximity to Donald Trump to try to influence him to stop doing dictatorial things. I mean, as a U.S. Senator, you are one of the most powerful people on the planet, but yet these people want us to believe that they're powerless. But you're not powerless. And the fact that you're just standing by as Trump denies due process to people and defies the Supreme Court, that is why people are outraged. Now, another constituent reminded Chuck Grassley about the oath that he took because, you know, these more traditional Republicans, you would think that that would resonate with them, but it didn't. because he doesn't care. But still, even though it didn't amount to anything, a confession, even an apology, it was cathartic to watch him get berated by his constituents who know that he's full of shit.
Senator, answer.
What is a constitutional crisis? What does that consist of? A constitutional crisis exists when you have a president who ignores the Supreme Court. You have a Congress who fails to rein in a third branch of our government.
That's right.
Who is now violating our Constitution. You took an oath. I do solemnly swear or affirm. Do you remember that, sir? Yes, sir. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The power of Congress to bring that executive branch to heel when they are behaving the way we're seeing, that power exists within you and your other members of Congress. Do you speak to your other persons in the House of Representatives of your party? Do you communicate with them often? Do you discuss any of this with them? Do you hold any concern that Congress will be the next branch that Trump comes for because he is coming for the judicial?
The only tool that the Constitution gives Congress to do in regard to disciplining the executive branch is impeachment.
And you missed that opportunity in his first administration. You had 2 opportunities for that. That was probably one of the only reasons we're having this situation now.
And he moved on after that because what is he supposed to say? He's responsible for the mess that we're in, and he knows it. But he lacks both the morality and the courage to stand up to Trump and try to fix the mess that he helped to make. So we're all stuck lying in the bed that he made for all of us. And as he helped facilitate the decline of our country, he's just standing back and watching it burn to the ground. That's why people are so pissed off, Chuck. But I want to go back to an earlier moment in the town hall where a different constituent cut to the core of the Republican Party's multi-decade-long agenda, which is to give tax cuts to rich people. And seeing this person make that point, it actually did give me a little bit of hope, especially considering the applause that she got for it.
The general population is sick and tired of hearing about the tax cuts for the wealthy, the ultra-wealthy, the uber-rich, whatever you want to call them. When you start nitpicking about whether some single mom or single dad or somebody with somebody in prison is getting $70 too much food stamps, it doesn't even buy you anything at the grocery store.
Now that is what I want to see at town halls. I don't want to see constituents applaud when cops tase people. I want to see them speak truth to power. I want to see them call out the politicians who have lied to them for decades. And I'm assuming that some of the people in that room voted for Reagan, probably twice, and they probably remember that Reagan told them that the wealth would trickle down if you give the tax cuts to rich people, but decades later, they now know for sure that the wealth never trickled down to them. They're poor. So I would imagine that they're especially frustrated that Republicans are still pushing that same load of horseshit as they have to live paycheck to paycheck or live off of a fixed income because the wealth never trickled down and all of a sudden the rest of us are poor while rich people are richer than ever. But I do want to move on to a different town hall, as satisfying as that one was, because I want to talk about Harriet Hageman, a physical manifestation of a demon if I've ever seen one, who defeated Liz Cheney back in 2024 simply by being more sycophantic to Donald Trump. Now, she is Wyoming's sole representative since they only have like 5 people living there, and Trump won her state with a 72% victory. He got 72% of the vote. So you'd expect in a deep, deep red state like that, they would be much more welcoming to a MAGA chud like her, but she did not get the warm welcome that we all expected at the town hall that she held back in late March. In fact, she was seemingly heckled the entire fucking time.
Social Security. The work that I have specifically been doing, I am on the Judiciary Committee and the Natural Resources Committee.
I worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture helping Wyoming family farmers deal with drought until I was fired a month ago in the mass firings, and despite only having the highest marks in my performance review. In a state where so many farmers rely on government programs for drought and disaster relief, Trump's plans to cut these programs and the people who administer them, coupled with the tariffs, will decimate Wyoming farms and rural communities. What are you doing about that?
I disagree. I come from the ag community. I'm well aware of what kind of programs are out there. It's so bizarre to me how obsessed you are with federal government. But here's the thing. You guys are going to have a heart attack if you don't calm down. I'm sorry. Your hysteria is just really over the top.
Brilliant move, Hageman. I'm sure that antagonizing your own constituents is definitely a good idea, and you should keep doing it. Now, I love how at one point she said that they were obsessed with the federal government, and it's like, lady, they pay you to represent them in the federal government, so questions about the federal government are appropriate and relevant, I'd say. I mean, do you expect them to go there and ask you about the fucking weather? What do you expect? Like, this is so deranged and idiotic. Be serious. Now, I'm sure that you'll be surprised to know that shortly after that embarrassing town hall, she announced that all future town halls would be held virtually because of, quote, Democrat threats of violence. Sure, because when all else fails, blame Democrats. That always works for Republicans. Now, she is obviously full of shit. She knows that it's not just Democrats pissed off at her, because people who are Republicans have showed up to her town hall and said, I'm a Republican and I am pissed off. For example, this woman at a different town hall asked her about the fraud that Doge was supposedly finding, and you're going to see that nobody was buying what she was selling.
I'm a retired military officer. At 18, I rose my hand to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And at that time, well, I still am. I am still a Republican. I am, bless his heart, a Simpson Republican that believes in working together across the aisle. And my question, having looked at Musk's Doge, whatever website, you are a lawyer. Where is this fraud? Who, what company, what organization, what personnel
I'll just start reading some of it.
are we going after?
I'll just start reading some of it. I'll just start reading it right now if you'd like me to. I'll just focus on USAID spending right here.
I didn't say spending, I said actual fraud.
This is what it is. This is the spending associated with the fraud. This is the fraud. Spending is the fraud.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Spending you don't like.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's not fraud. It's spending that you don't like, as somebody in the audience pointed out. But I'm sure that Democrat threats of violence, that's the real reason why she's canceling future in-person town halls, and not because her own constituents won't buy her bullshit and let her gaslight them. But I want to talk about Brian Mast from Florida. He has actually vowed, to his credit, to hold not just one, but a series of town halls to hear out constituent concerns. And I'm hoping that he actually follows through with these town halls. And the reason why I say that I hope that he does that is because the ones that he's already attended didn't go so well. He got humiliated.
We are kidnapping people, human trafficking them to another country, paying to keep them imprisoned. That is not how deportation works. No trial, no proof, no paper trail. We are the terrorists in this situation. How can you support our president in these actions? And does this contradict your belief in the Constitution?
Yeah, I support 100%. deporting the individuals that are in the United States of America illegally. 100%. And the rest of them. Let's just say it again. This is something that the previous administration could have done. They chose not to. It's a good way to tie in something else. Because we're Floridians, I'm going to tie in FEMA to this.
All of the experts are still struggling with knowing where is this going. We know that tariffs generally bring more costs to us, not to the countries. So please, can Congress do something to hold the volatility?
Stand up to Trump.
I can give you specifics in agriculture. I can give you specifics in manufacturing. In the last year, the United States of America imported roughly 800,000 vehicles from the EU. EU imported roughly 150,000 automobiles from the United States of America. That's a trade imbalance, and that's a direct result of what they do with tariffs. To give you one specific example, if you took a Tahoe at the most basic sticker price in the United States of America, Tahoe $59,000, Norway $100,000. That would be an example of where they're taking.
So in case you couldn't make out what he was saying, his excuse for Trump's tariffs is the trade deficits that we have with other countries, which makes no sense because I don't understand how it's somehow inherently unfair if we buy more from a country than they buy from us. It's not their fault that we don't make something that they want. It's not their fault that our oligarchs chose to ship our manufacturing jobs to their countries to exploit cheap labor. People aren't buying it. We know this is bullshit and just quite frankly fucking stupid. And they're especially pissed off because they're worried about their 401ks, which this is affecting. I mean, it's not necessarily a loss for young people with 401ks since there's enough time for those funds to recover. But I mean, if you're 65 and you're about to retire and your 401k drops by 10 or 20%, that's going to hurt. And obviously that's going to piss some people off, which is why they were there and not buying the shitty excuses that he was giving to them. But a common theme throughout all of these town halls is that none of these politicians offer satisfactory answers to any of the questions constituents ask, assuming they're even allowed to ask questions in the first place. Because what's happening to this country is indefensible. Everything we're seeing is inexcusable, and they're part of the problem. So I'm expecting these town halls to happen less and less often because people are only going to grow more angry as things continue to get worse. Having said that, if they keep happening, I will continue to report on them because it's very cathartic to see people yell at corrupt politicians. That I'm always going to be here for.